Making a code.
This is the Silver Marvel.
Steve Resk of SRG Universe.
Y el gato sombrío
And you're watching
es tu Miranda.
Dice Squad. Too sweet.
Don't touch that dial. It's time for Dice Squad. How's it going, folks? This is Dice Squad. I am Marshall Dice, also as Adam Campbell.
General Dice, Todd Evangelista.
And this is Dice Squad, the only show where we journey to Forbidden Islands in search of ancient treasures. We don't know what's gonna entail, but we're ready.
Mostly what we find is cardboard and plastic. But one day.
So what game we talking about this time, General?
This is Forbidden Island.
And who is Forbidden Island by?
It was developed by Matt Leacock, whom you may remember from one of our previous shows. Longtime fans, this is a shout out to you. I'm looking at you, Norway. This is developed from his other game, which is Pandemic. What happened is Game Right Games came to Matt Leacock and they said, we love your game Pandemic, but we think that if you had it and made it simpler so that younger players could be involved, they thought it would really take off, and it did. And it causes a lot of problems when you go from Forbidden Island to Pandemic because of card passing is a lot easier in this one than it is in Pandemic.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that
So,
one,
if you have younger players and you want to do a game night, family game night, consider Forbidden Island. And we're going to show you how to play it now.
All right.
Well, the hardest thing is setup, and we've already done that. The first thing you do is you take the colored tiles. Each one has a location, which is on Forbidden Island. And you arrange them. You first deal out 16 cards in a 4x4 grid, and then you go around the outside. 2, 2, 2, and 2. You put at the four corners the treasures. You have the treasure of wind, which is the flying lion. You have the treasure of earth, which is
Sphinx there, General.
Androsphinx, I guess, yeah. You have the, I don't think it's a brazier. I think it's just a water goblet for the water. And
Chalice.
The chalice and the, what's this? Fire.
Well, you tell me.
Fire. And stone.
I think this is a gem.
A gem of flame. And each one of these treasures will be located somewhere on the island. How do you know? It will have the picture of the treasure in the corner.
I was about to ask you that,
These are the
General.
only places that you can
Find the treasure.
You can retrieve it. How do you retrieve it? Well,
I was just also going to ask you that question.
you get treasure cards. The treasure cards, if there are 5 of each treasure in the treasure deck, as soon as you have two of the Androsphinx. If I give you this one, you'd have 3. If you can get one more, you can go to the Howling Gardens or the Whispering Gardens and turn them in and get this treasure. Now, do I have to steal it from you? No. This is a cooperative game. We're working together to get all 4 treasures.
Now, this is a little different from usual, General.
Yeah,
you and I normally butt heads when it comes to
Right. We
competing in
usually
games.
compete against each other, but this one is we're working together. And if you can have up to 4 players, we have 2 players today, but you can have 3 or 4 as well. And so the next thing you do is you shuffle the treasure deck out, and you deal 2 cards to each player. And when so you started with 2 good ones because you're on your way to getting one of the treasures. As we go, we're going to at the end of every turn get 2 more cards. And if you ever have 5 cards, you have to discard them.
Yes, because your maximum hand size is only 5.
Right. But there are special cards in the deck which will allow you to either fly people around or to shore up the areas of the island that are flooding, and you can play those instead of discarding.
Now I was about to ask you, General. This seems pretty easy. What's the hazard in this kind of game?
Well, that's what we started with. This is the flood deck. Now, this flood deck has one of every card here that is present on the island. We took 6 of them and dealt them out, and when they came up, the Watchtower, Twilight Hollow, the Observatory, Misty Marsh, Howling Garden, Tidal Palace, all of these were flipped to their black and white side because they're flooded. They're not gone, they're just flooded. If we go over to them and we shore them up, then we'll flip them back to their colored side.
And we can move on those, right?
And you can move on them even though they are flooded.
Yes.
Now I'm starting on the Silver Gate, you're starting on the Golden Gate. The key one that we cannot lose, because if it gets flooded and it comes up again, it is out of the game. And if we lose Fool's Landing, which is where our helicopter is, we lose the game.
We can't get off the island.
That's right.
Just like Lost.
That's right. If a person is on a tile and it goes down, it's out of the game, we are allowed to swim to one of the 4 ornithogonally adjacent tiles. So I could go here, 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 or here. However, late in the game, it may be the case that there is no ornithogonally adjacent tile. Then the player drowns and all players lose. So you can.
That's deadly.
Yes, if somebody dies, the whole game is lost. Now,
Just like the show Lost.
just like it. Maybe this is here's what's going to happen though. We're going to keep drawing cards. How many cards? This is the Waters Rise level. Currently, it's at 2.
Yes.
That's the normal level. In this treasure deck are cards that say the Waters Rise. Soon as a Waters Rise card is drawn, this goes up.
So we can
1
pull a
tick.
maximum of like 5 cards that we need to sink.
Yeah, and then, well, it depends. Hopefully I've shuffled it well enough that the Waters Rise cards are not all at the bottom. But as soon as you get a Waters Rise card, you're going to take the tiles that have already been underwater here, you're going to shuffle them, and you're going to put them on top of the deck. So it's likely that they're going to come up again, and once they come up again, they're going to sink. Now, strategy-wise, we're walking around. We get 3 actions. You can move ornithogonally, so that's 1, 2, 3. Or you can move 1 and then shore up this location. 2, 3, and you can't do anything more. But you can also, if we're on the same location, we can trade cards. And is there any other actions? Oh, you can claim a treasure. And here's the thing we forgot to mention, is as the waters rise, the more flood cards you have to pull. So as soon as we get waters rise one time, we're going to be pulling 3 flood cards.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, and then eventually we're going to be pulling 4 flood cards, then 5 flood cards. If we get all the way up to here, folks, that's death. We all drown.
We're swimming with the
Yeah,
fishes.
everything's death in this game.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start playing here, General.
All right, let's make sure we've got everything. We are powerful. Not just because I'm the general and you're the marshal.
Yes.
But because we shuffled our player cards, and I am the messenger. I can break the rules a little bit. I can give treasure cards to a player anywhere on the island for 1 action per card. Whereas you have to be on my spot to give me your cards.
Correct, and I am the navigator, and my special power is I can move another player up to 2 adjacent tiles for 1 action.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
So you could move me here. Now, we randomly chose, and you're going first.
Yes.
So let's show them a little bit about how to play.
All right, so
So take your 3 actions.
3 actions. So I will move in position because I want to get that. Now, can I jump over you, General?
No.
I cannot.
We would just be on the same location. So if you wanted to come to me, you could. But you're probably best. Your best bet is to.
So I'll go here, 1. It's 1 action. 2 action. I'm going to reflip this tile over so it's now unsunk.
And then move me. Move me over to here.
And then I'll move you over 2 spaces with my special power.
Right, because then I can flip that one and that one
Yes.
in my turn. Now, we kind of care about this one, and we really care about this one, because if this sinks, that's 1 less spot where we can get our treasure of the Androsphinx. If we lose the Howling Gardens and the Whispering Gardens, we lose the game. But if we get the Androsphinx statue before they both sink, and then later on they sink, we're okay. And we got the Tidal Palace is underwater, and the Howling Gardens is underwater.
All right, General. So let me take up to 2 treasure cards because I did my 3 actions.
Waters rise.
Oh,
That's
man.
not good. And the next one, another waters rise. That is bad, but it's not as bad as you might think. So what's going to happen is we're going to take both of these waters rise.
We're going to move it up.
We're going to put them in the discard pile. We're going to move this up 2 ticks. And now you have to shuffle those, and you're going to draw 3.
Yeah, that would have not been good.
All right.
So, General, your thoughts on Forbidden Island?
Well, I like Pandemic better, but this is
Really, I would disagree. I like this better than Pandemic.
It is a lot easier to set up and to get it out and play it. Also, it's easier to understand, for sure. But, I've played Pandemic, Iberian Peninsula, Pandemic Legacy Season 1, Pandemic Legacy Season 2. So I do like
Pandemic Legacy Season 3?
It's not out yet.
Oh, okay.
We don't know what it will bring. But I'll tell you, Pandemic Legacy Season 2 was a bloodbath. In our game, we lost the world. We played like 16 games of it, and we lost the world. So in this, we just didn't get our treasures. In Pandemic, the stakes are a bit higher. But I like this game, so I'm going to give it...
Oh, you didn't even let me even give my input.
Yeah, give your input.
For me, this game actually, I've actually played once before. We formed Dice Squad. I played this previously.
Yeah.
And this actually harkens back because this is a pretty fun game. I enjoy the tile flipping. I enjoy the conversation piece to this game where you have to kind of talk with your partners and go, which way do I move? Which way do I do? Because the game itself works against you.
And also, if there's a disagreement, the player whose turn it is, they get to make the decision.
Or that mistake could cost you the whole entire game.
Yeah. In this one, it's a little bit more forgiving. There's not in Pandemic. There's a little bit more that you can do to let's make the game harder, but give ourselves more powers. In this one, if it's so easy to do it on normal, it's impossible to do on elite. The number of times that I have won with the water level here. is a lot. So just by one extra, it can be bad. In fact, there was one game where it was like this. We were both on the Cave of Embers, or no, the one person who had the fire was on Cave of Embers, and the other person was on Fool's Landing. There was nothing left of the island. That was it, and we just had to get the one thing, and we did not get it. The Cave of Embers finally came up, and the guy was lost. You know, he didn't lose. He was still alive, but once you lose the thing and you don't have the treasure, that's game over. So, I don't know. What'd you think? You played both. You played Pandemic and you played this one, and you would say you like this one better than Pandemic?
I like the it's a lot less having to build. It's very easy to set up and very easy to play. You play with you could play with most any ages 10 and up.
Yeah,
Can really accustom to this game.
And I'd say with help, you could even have a little bit younger.
Very true. So, General, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, how would you rate Forbidden Island?
I believe my Pandemic rating was a 9, so I'm going to give this an 8.
An 8?
But I rated Pandemic a 9, and I would rate Pandemic Legacy 1 like a 10, so just FYI.
I would rate this a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's good. Good game. Good game. Now, so that means like your rating for Pandemic is like a 7? Something.
Well, I'd have to go look back at our previous episodes.
Right.
That was many years ago we did Pandemic.
Yep, and then we played that game of Monopoly for 9 months that pretty much erased most of my memory.
Yeah,
So,
and my facial hair.
so in any case, that is all for Forbidden Island.
But, General, I think it's time for our new segment here on Dice Squad.
New segment?
Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know what that is. What are you talking about?
Dice Squad recommends.
Dice Squad recommends. That's right. And since you are the one who brought it up, you should go first.
I should go first. All right. Well, Dice Squad fans, for this episode of Dice Squad, I would recommend Miss Klein.
All right. So
Your call, General.
I am going to recommend a musical artist from an island, and that island is New Zealand, and her name is Phaser Days.
All right. Well, we have to go and try to bring this island back up from the watery grave.
Raise the Titanic here.
Very true, General. Very true. But from all of us at Dice Squad, this is Marshall Dice, also known as Adam Campbell,
Todd Evangelista, General Dice.
saying, go out there and find your own Forbidden Island, folks.
That's right. We have fans in Norway. I always do a shout out.
Person who watched it
I am a shout out